All right, Shalom. This is Gamali Allah, Great Millstone, Atlanta. I want to give all praises to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the Akim pushing out this truth and sincerity. All right, it's going to be entitled, Don't Give Up in Times of Adversity. Don't give up your faith in times of adversity. And testimony. This is a testimony. All right. So I recently had some equipment that was stolen. This is the testimony story. I recently had some equipment that I rented out to somebody. You know, they were to pay me to borrow the equipment, some music equipment. And it's a pretty expensive piece of equipment. And the Jake that borrowed it, and I'm not gonna go too much into detail, but the Jake that borrowed it or rented it from me, he went ghost. And at first I wasn't suspecting that he was being shady. The first time he hit me back, I had a death in the family, the usual runaround story. Death in the family, and I'll get it back to you this week. Never got it back, and then I reached out a few more times, and then no answer. So what I did was I knew music studio, like a place of business that he worked at. And when I was able to get in contact with him, come to find out he had stolen from them as well. A lot of stuff that he had stole from them. A lot of equipment that he stole from them as well. So pretty much what I had to do is, file a police report, of course, and go through all the motions, go through all the steps. And add my stolen item to their list of stolen items, etc., etc. So this is what happened. So now this is throughout the course of from the time I found out that it was stolen up until the time that I was able to recover the item, which was today. We're talking a couple weeks. And my reason for this lesson is because there were several obstacles in the way where I could have just given up. A lot of obstacles, a lot of times where it just didn't seem likely. It's it just didn't seem likely. It seemed as though I would never retrieve my item again. All right. And, and for example, I was able to, Jake had pawned it. He sold it to a pawn shop. So I just so happened to, search online, looking for the item. And then I was able to find that pawn shop where it was sold at. But the pawn shop was kind of being shady because, they were like, oh, you got to get police involved. But then, I brought a police officer up there. Then they're like, oh, well, you got to go through the pawn shop database. And it has to, be reported stolen through this database and whatnot. So just a lot of hurdles, and so at that point, I'm trying to do what they advised me to do, but then I'm being pointed everywhere. I mean, if well, I'm sure you brothers don't know, but Atlanta PD is just a shit show. They point you in every direction. They give you numbers. They give you phone numbers to call, and you never get a call back. And then they point you. I was pointed in maybe about 5 different directions of where to go for somebody to assist me. And so anyway, finally, I didn't give up. That's the point. I went. They had me go to four different buildings, and they go to this building, call this number, go to this building, went to that building. Oh no, this isn't the right department. You got to go to this department. Went there. Oh no, you got to go here. So I'm being pointed at every direction. A lot of people were just giving up. A lot of people were just giving up and just said, you know what? Nah, forget it. Like, it's not, as a matter of fact, the studio had given up. I even helped them, because I was persistent. And I may rename the lesson, but persistence is key. That's the point that I'm getting at. Persistence is key. All right. Because when you have faith in something, this is the point that I'm making, and I'm getting ready to get some precepts. When you are when you have faith in something, persistence is key. You don't give up. There was a point where the pawn shop item, they listed it as sold. Online where I saw the item for sale, they had listed it as sold. So I'm like, oh man, it's long gone now. But fast forward, they did have it. I don't know why, I don't know why they lied and said they didn't. Maybe they were trying to cooperate with me. Maybe not. But point being is that the Lord saw it through. I mean, I had faith in the Lord that I would get it back, and I didn't give up. I kept, every obstacle in the way. I'm looking for another solution. I'm adamant about getting it back. And like I said, this is a expensive piece of equipment. If it was just a couple $100s, probably would have took the L. But we're talking about, this is a few thousand dollars. So anyway, let's get some precepts. This is James 2, and let's start at 21. Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he had offered Isaac, his son, upon the altar? Seest thou how faith wrought with his works, and by works was faith made perfect? Yeah, so faith and works go hand in hand. I can have faith in something all day, but if I'm not actually actively working towards, getting that particular thing accomplished, then it's dead. Okay, you have to show, the Lord wants to see effort. All right. The Lord's just not going to give you something just because you believe. I mean, maybe in some cases it could be that simple, but in most cases, the Lord wants to see some type of sacrifice, see some type of effort, on top of your belief. Verse 24, ye see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only. Okay. So it's just not about faith only. It's about works. All right. And, this is a small situation. I mean, yeah, we're talking about my item, but I mean, that's, we're talking about first world problems. You got people that are dealing with, way more heavier shit. But, regardless, the lesson is still the same. All right. The testimony is, still the same. So from there, let's go to what is it? Romans. Romans 8:28, it says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love the Most High, to them who are called according to his purpose. Okay. Matter of fact, let me start at 27. And he that searcheth the hearts knoweth what is the mind of the Spirit, because he maketh intercession for the saints according to the will of the Most High. Yeah, so the Lord works for the saints. All right, he maketh intercession for them. And it says, verse 28, and we know all things work together for good to them that love the Most High. So no matter how it goes, okay, the Lord will have things work. If something doesn't work in your favor, there is such a thing as chastening. Maybe, you are going to take certain L's in this truth. But ultimately, it's not an L, it's a W. It's the will of the Lord. The Lord didn't want you to, the Lord, you got to figure out what it is the Lord, whatever lesson the Lord wanted you to learn out of that. All right. But it says, to them who are called according to his purpose. So that's that. Let's get, this is, bear with me. This is Joshua 1:9. It says, have I not commanded thee, be strong and of good courage? Be not afraid, neither be dismayed, for the Lord thy power is with thee wherever thou goest, whithersoever thou goest. Okay? So yeah, be of good courage, be strong and of good courage. Okay, don't be dismayed. Don't, even though the odds may not be in your favor, And I believe this is the Lord talking to Moses, where he's saying, therefore shall not any man be able to stand before thee as I was with Moses. Yeah, so that's the Lord speaking to, actually, Joshua. He's speaking to Joshua. All right, but he's speaking in regards to Moses. All right. And, he basically said, be strong and of good courage, man. So, the Lord gives us power. He gives us hope and courage, and he guides us through whatever various situations we have to go through. All right. Let's see. I got one more. It was Luke 18. Let's see. Luke 18:1, and I'll close on this. It says, and he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men ought to always pray and to not faint. Yeah, so let's, you just gotta pray, man. You don't faint. You pray about it. You have faith, and you just go through the motions. Let the Lord work it out for you. You gotta just be patient. Let the Lord work it out for you. And don't give up. Persistence, being persistent through the Spirit. So with that, giving all praise, honor, glory to YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, KAKWADASH. Devil honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom.